businesses. It is therefore with great pleasure that I welcome you and wish you very fruitful deliberations. Thank you and enjoy the day.
Thank you, Dr. Titi. The key takeaway from me from your welcome is this is an opportunity not just to discuss the findings, but to also see how we can begin to earn foreign exchange from it. So everyone here has something to take away from this session. Thank you very much, Dr. Titi. Orolua, are you ready for us? Your presentation ready?
Yes, it is. Good morning, everyone.
Please go ahead.
Let me just share my screen and we can begin. Standing on all existing protocol, I would also just like to welcome everyone once again, picking up from where Dr. Titi had stopped. I want to believe that everyone can see my screen at this time. If you can't,
yes,
maybe yes. Okay. Picking up from what Dr. Titi had mentioned, it's very imperative that Nigeria begins its economic diversification plan, particularly as we have seen that the COVID situation has again exposed our economy to the shocks that we are well acquainted with right now, given our reliance on oil and the volatility of the oil prices and the oil demand generally. In looking at this study, what we've tried to advise is a three-pronged approach to export diversification, where you begin with a product prioritization, given that you have a large basket of products that you can possibly export in Nigeria, and which people are exporting in Nigeria. You need to sort of prioritize which ones are the key ones that you want to begin your plan with. And you then focus on the trade enablers. What are the trade enablers from an infrastructure and non-infrastructure perspective, from a quality and standards perspective? How do you eliminate the barriers to trade, whether it be tariff or non-tariff, for people to then export freely? And also, we then look at the MSME capacity. What's our current capacity from an in-house perspective? That's looking in-house to say, what's the size and relative capacity of our MSMEs, and how can we improve the sector in general? Picking up from the product prioritization, we have used the zero oil plan as the base for our prioritization. The zero oil plan was a plan of the Nigerian Export Promotion Council, which was developed with 4 objectives in mind. 1 was to increase Nigeria's foreign reserves. 2 was to increase job creation. 3 was poverty alleviation, and 4 was to empower state governments and integrate them into the export value chain, such that they can also increase their internally generated revenue. The plan had 22 products, from which we then streamlined to 6 using prioritization criteria, 4 main prioritization criteria. 1 was product development, that tried to look at where Nigeria is currently in terms of the product. Are we a net importer? Are we a net exporter? Do we have presence of large-scale manufacturers in that particular subsector, which we can then build on as a value add and would require less investment to drive production capacity. The second was competitive advantage in terms of our nearest competitors, that's the African region, to say what's the competitive advantage that we have for this product. Are we one of the top exporters, particularly within Africa? Are we in the top 10? Are we in the top 5? And what's our relative size given for each of those products? Another criteria which we've used is the export market gap globally, to say what's the existing market gap in Africa, what's the existing market gap globally for each of those products. And the last one was the compliance requirement. What's the compliance requirement for exporting those products in terms of the quality and standards that is required? We then narrowed down NEPC's 22 products to 6. soya, rubber, sugar, leather, cocoa bean, and ginger. Now, to pause here and say that this does not mean that all other products are of no value. What we've just tried to highlight is to begin our initial drive around this product, given that they have the highest yield potential in terms of boosting the economy in general. We've given basis for selection of some of these products, which ranges across the large export market size that they have. And also we've considered social inclusion, that's the gender, and also the youth across the production value chain of some of these products. Moving on quickly we then conducted a survey for these products, looking at the producers of these products across six states, across the 6 geopolitical zones in Nigeria. We spoke to various responded classes, farmers, exporters, aggregators, distributors, and manufacturers. We also spoke to various trade agencies. The list here is not exhaustive, but we spoke to NAFDAC, we spoke to SON, we spoke to NAQS, NEPC, the NASIMA, as well as the African International Trade Women Network. Some of our general findings around the problem revolved around, for MSMEs, it revolved around the general level of informality that we see. Also the size and technical capacity, given that these people are relatively small, and their access to finance has not been, they've not been able to really access finance, particularly because of the state of their informality. We then, what that then translates to is a low technical capacity and a low yield in terms of what Nigeria produces and the level of input that goes into production in Nigeria. Also, a major problem that we've seen is the level of information dissemination. A lot of our MSMEs do not know some of this information, and the mode of channel which even the trade agencies that are supposed to support them embark on is not the most effective in terms of outreach for this dissemination of the information. In terms of the regulatory and trade environment, what we also see is our quality infrastructure in terms of the number of labs that we have across the country, which is really low and concentrated in Lagos versus the rest of the country. We also see an inefficient border process, which we believe that we can optimize and improve trade and help improve trade, given that people are currently alluding to the prevalence of illegal practices, which increases their cost of trade and overall cost of operating. Also, a major problem that we see is the level of general coordination, particularly among trade agencies. It looks as though the trade agencies are currently working in silo, and there's a limited level of integration amongst their efforts. What that translates to is that we currently lack synergy in terms of what we can achieve, given that these good plans are not synergized and there's no synchronization among these agencies. In terms of how we've approached the strategy recommendations, we've looked at it from 3 broad areas in terms of what affects the MSMEs, what affects the trade ecosystem, and particularly what affects gender inclusion. And at the center point of this is creating investment enabling policies that will drive export promotion in Nigeria, basically. Moving on quickly to our development framework, what we've tried to build is some sort of linkage between the priority products that we've selected and the critical special economic zones and industrial clusters that we have in Nigeria. Linking those two to key finance programs and initiatives that exist, we believe is what's going to drive investment in Nigeria. If we then couple that with including this plan with Nigeria's integrated multimodal transport network, a lot of work has commenced into diversifying the transport network in Nigeria, investment into rail, and some initial groundwork into our inland waterways as well. We then believe that if we then link these 2 plans to the trade process in terms of having a single window system, we would have a full-fledged improved export development in Nigeria. We begin with the issue of informality, where we've looked at formalization and integration strategies that we can employ. Basically, currently we employ in Nigeria a cost reduction strategy, which looks to subsidize the registration cost for people and also simplify the registration process. While there are current pitfalls to the successful implementation of that, we still believe that that is a way to go, and we believe that there will be improved implementation initiatives from SMIDAN in terms of ensuring that the relative consultant use that these MSMEs employ do not, at the end of the day, increase the cost and negate the use of subsidies. We also believe that there is there's a need for increased awareness of some of these plans. A lot of MSMEs do not particularly know of this initiative around the subsidized cost. They also do not know the registration process, and they then turn to the use of external consultants, which then again negates the point of having a subsidized cost in the first place. We also believe that if we do employ some form of demand pool strategy, which I'll talk more as I get to the investment ecosystem, some form of demand pool strategy which looks to use bigger enterprises to drive the registration and formalization of the smaller ones, and also improve their capacity, their overall capacity. Lastly, we've also considered on a long-term view some form of minimum threshold in terms of liberalization, and that's something that we see along the commercial trade corridor, where there is a minimum threshold of goods that particularly require you to be registered for you to trade cross-border. If we have some level of minimum quota, say $2,000, you can operate informally. We believe that that's something that can also help improve trade in Nigeria, basically. In terms of the trade system and process optimization, we've bucketed it into four. One is the truck call-up system, which we believe is very key in terms of decongesting the Apapa ports and the major ports in Nigeria. The NPA recently commissioned a new truck call-up system, which is supposed to commence early next week for implementation. And we believe that this is one of the ways to improve particularly the congestion of the Apapa ports, basically. The single window system is also something that is a key commitment of Nigeria's WTO trade facilitation agreement, and also the AFTA, which we have recently ratified. And the implementation of a single window system, which allows exporters to, which serves as a one-stop shop for exporters to log in all their compliance documents and negates the manual process that we currently have in terms of having to go through NAFDAC, go through each individual agency to submit your documents. The single window system removes that manual process and hastens the entire trade process and sort of optimizes the cost and time involved in trading. Another initiative is the one-stop border post for border trading. We believe that some level of cross-border cooperation between Nigeria and its neighbors in terms of having a single border post instead of the current system of having two border stops would help facilitate trade in Nigeria as well. Lastly, we've recommended a time release study, an annual time release study, which just serves as a monitoring and evaluation tool to basically find bottlenecks that exist within the trade process and seeks to annually point out areas of development for Nigeria in terms of the time it takes to export and to import and the relative cost implications of that. Moving on to another key area which we believe is crucial for improving exports in Nigeria is the capacity development. What we've recommended is a synchronization of capacity building programs for MSMEs using an annual training calendar. So what we currently have in play is that various agencies, various trade agencies, SON, NEPC, NAFDAC, BOI, all have separate training calendars for MSMEs over the year. What we are then recommending is that this can be brought into one single training calendar, which will be run by SMIDAN in collaboration with these other agencies. And that way there is efficient tracking of the programs and the capacity building for MSMEs. Also, we believe that there's a need for annual training and capital development, human capital development for key staffs of trade agencies as well, in terms of training them across the new policies and trade agreements of the country, gender inclusion trainings, and also trade missions and foreign trade academy programs. Moving on to investment enabling ecosystem, like I mentioned earlier, linking the SEZs that we currently have and industrial clusters that we currently have to the financing and building out an outgrower scheme where the larger guys can sort of look to pick the smaller guys and build with them in some form of backward integration strategy, where the smaller guys supplies the bigger ones the products for exports and the products for their own raw materials. And that way there is some form of monitoring of the smaller guys who do not have the relative economies of scale in terms of what's the quality, in terms of what's the quality of your product, in terms of your access to finance and other areas. We believe that given that these larger guys also have access to trade missions and they get demand in large volumes, plugging them to the smaller guys will also improve the level of trade in Nigeria overall. And it will also help build a better access to finance in terms of value chain financing, where the larger guy accesses finance in huge bulk, given that he is the formal guy, he is the formal operator, and can access the subsidized finance initiatives of the government. He can access that at the reduced cost, 10%, 12% interest rates, or the single digit interest rate that we currently have. And then plug the smaller guys to those kind of finance in terms of value chain financing for the smaller guys to also access finance that they require for production. I'll just breeze through this quickly because of time to move on to quality infrastructure. We believe that the current, the potential of passing the quality infrastructure policy and the bill, which has currently left the FEC and is back with the first president for assent, is key to localizing international standards in Nigeria, which is a strategy that we've seen deployed by Kenya and also South Africa. When we have similar international standards such as the global gap that can be benchmarked to Nigeria's current reality in terms of what's the relative cost and the cost it takes to get such standard. If we have a similar benchmarkable standard that will be called the Nigerian gap, localizing the international one to current realities of our country, it will help improve the access to quality certifications for local MSMEs and also drive private sector investment in the quality infrastructure sector, basically. Lastly, for the gender inclusion, we've recommended some increased sensitization against discriminatory practices, which we currently see, some form of cost subsidization for women and for youth, increased finance targeted at women using a minimum quota system. And also, we believe that the digitization of the custom and trade process will eliminate some of these discriminatory practices against women and youth, basically. Lastly, in terms of improving the information dissemination that we have currently, we've recommended that we leverage ICT channels, and we have various ones currently in use to just basically provide information to exporters in terms of what's the key market information for your product, what's the quality requirement for your product, what's the procurement opportunities available for your product. We also believe that dissemination through private sector groups such as NASIMA, NABG, NASMI will also help improve the dissemination of information to the local MSME guys. I will stop here because of time, but the presentation which can be shared later also contains fact sheets around the 6 products that we've recommended. Thank you all for your time.
Thank you, Oreoluwa. A lot to take on board, and thank you for being able to compress 99 pages into the time. Thank you very much. I'm sure there will be questions that will come up as we go along. So now the next thing on our agenda is the panel session. Quickly, I will just name our panelists and they'll give us a 1-minute brief on who they are and what they do in the export sector. Our first panelist for today is Dr. Ezra Yakusak, who is the Director, Policy and Strategy at the Nigeria Export Promotion Council, NEPC. You're welcome, sir. Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you very much.
Dr. Abdulateef Shitu is Executive Director, Strategy and Research at the Nigeria Governors Forum, NGF. Good morning, sir. Dr. Abdulateef Shitu. Okay, next I have Dr. Victor Iyama, who's the National President, Federation of Agricultural Commodities Association of Nigeria, FACAN.
Good morning, and how are you? And welcome.
Fine, thank you, Dr. Abdulateef. Thank you, sir.
Yes, good morning, all. Yes.
Yes. Next, we have Honorable Ahmed Rabiu, is the MD CEO of Dala Inland Dry Ports, Kano, and he's the president of the Network of Practicing Non-Oil Exporters of Nigeria, NPNEN. Good morning, sir. Okay. Next, we have David Amachundi, who is the Special Assistant to the Acting Chief Trade Negotiator, Director General of the Nigerian Office for Trade Negotiations, NOTN. You're welcome to all our panelists. Please, I'll be starting from Dr. Ezra once more. Please give us a 1-minute brief about you and the work you do in the non-oil export sector.
Okay, good morning all once again. My name is Ezra Yakusak. I'm a director of policy, in charge of policy and strategy department of Nigerian Export Promotion Council. I've been in the council for about 28 years now. And the NEPC, that's Nigerian Export Promotion Council, was set up in 1976 by the federal government as the agency or the main agency for promoting and developing non-oil exports. The primary goal of this agency of NEPC is to diversify the nation's oil base. And we do that by ensuring that we handhold SMEs and promote non-oil activities that will help increase the basket of export products from Nigeria. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Dr. Victor Iyama, please. Dr. Victor Iyama, 1-minute brief, sir. Okay. Okay, let me go to hello.
Hello.
Okay. While we wait for Dr. Iyama's network, Dr. Abdulateef Shitu, please.
Okay, good morning all again. My name is Dr. Abdulateef Shitu. I'm the Executive Director of Strategy and Policy at the Nigerian Governors Forum Secretariat. I'm sure you're all aware, the Nigerian Governors Forum is the Secretariat is the resource center, the policy hub for the state. you know, and yeah, research center for the state. And we've been doing a lot of policy distillation and a lot of policy review, and ensure that policy, looking at the federal nature of the structure of the country, that a number of these policies are effectively cascaded and domesticated at the subnational levels. Thank you.
Dr. Yama, are you ready to go, sir? Okay, let's move on quickly to Honorable Ahmed Rabiu. Honorable Ahmed Rabiu, 1 minute brief, sir. Okay. I think there's a bit of an internet issue. David Amachundi, please give us a 1 minute brief. David.
Yeah, good morning, everyone.
Good morning, sir.
Yeah, good morning. Thank you for having me. My name is David Amachundi. I'm a Special Assistant to the Acting Chief Trade Negotiator and Director General, Nigerian Office for Trade Negotiation. Basically, the Nigerian Office for Trade Negotiation was established by the Federal Executive Council in 2017 to lead, manage, and coordinate all trade and trade-related negotiations on behalf of Nigeria. So on this basis, NOTN has been negotiating key multilateral agreements and other regional agreements like the African Continental Free Trade Area Agreement, which was recently launched on 1st January. So basically, in relation to the non-oil exports, the office negotiates on trade deals that foster Nigeria's economic aspirations and in line with the government's policy on job creation, industrialization, and development. So trade and trade negotiation is key in advancing the non-oil exports. Thank you so much.
Going quickly into our panel session now. And again, our panelists are Dr. Ezra Yakusak, Dr. Abdulateef Shitu, Dr. Victor Iyama, Honorable Ahmed Rabiu, and David Amachundi. And the focus of this panel session is to take one after the other, the recommendations from this study and other areas, key areas of this study, to see how we can shed a bit more light on it and see how it can be more valuable. Just shortly before we go ahead with that, I want to acknowledge the presence of some other of our partners in government who are here attending today. In the room, we have NAFDAC, the Nigerian Customs, Manufacturers Association of Nigeria, and the Bank of Agriculture. You're very welcome. Thank you for joining this panel session today. Okay, I'll be starting off with Dr. Yama, please, can you mute yourself, sir? Dr. Yama, please mute yourself. Thank you, sir. All right, so I'll be taking off from the presentation. Dr. Yama, please, can you mute yourself, sir? Orolua, please, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay, so we'll be taking off from your presentation. I think for me, something that came through was the single window system, the need to strengthen interagency coordination to foster a better trade environment in Nigeria. Over the years, we've seen that where there are separate agencies who are taking a particular initiative forward, there's usually the issues of it's everybody's responsibility, and it almost therefore becomes no one's responsibility. How do we take forward this recommendation? Is there a platform to launch this campaign, and who's taking the arrowhead on it? And how do we ensure that it doesn't go the same way that a number of other initiatives like this have gone?
Thank you, Abosede.
Orolua, please go ahead.
Thank you, Abosede. What we've seen particularly in the trade ecosystem is, like you mentioned, there is the disjoint between who is supposed to be in charge of coordination, and also the lack of a clear trade policy, which spells out who the coordinate. The lack of that policy document also adds to that problem. In terms of what we've tried to recommend, we've looked at the responsibilities of each of these key trade agencies and their institutional power in terms of who can actually coordinate such projects. And what we've seen is that the most viable is an office, is a department which is supposed to be independent and has over the years picked up responsibilities of other ministries, even in Nigeria. I'm speaking of the CBN. And because its initial role is supposed to be the monetary policy and singularly the monetary policy, we do not particularly believe that we should add the implementation of the single window system to that body. So what we've recommended is that the president itself should look to make the development of the single window system a critical national infrastructure and set up a committee led by the CBN governor, but we have also the key heads of all other ministries, the customs, the FMITI, to come together and with a sole mandate of we want to put up a single window system. And then this would then be developed in some form of PPP, similar to what we currently have in the e-customs project, which looks to implement the customs from a manual system to a more digital process. So that's how we've looked at the implementation of the single window system.
Thank you, Orolua. Please, before we go further, can I ask that everyone should please turn on their videos? This is being live streamed and we have just black screens. If you please turn on your video so we can see you as you speak, we'll really appreciate that. Thank you, Orolua. I see you. Dr. Ezra, do you want to chip in here? There's been the perennial issues of it's everybody's responsibility and therefore it's nobody's responsibility. Orolua then comes up with, let's set up some sort of committee and all that. Now there's two issues on the table. Dr. Ezra, do you want to chip in here? What do you think is the best way to get this SWS working?
Okay, thank you very much. First and foremost, I must thank PDF for this wonderful report. The report kept me awake for about a day or two to look at it. And it wasn't funny, but thank you very much.
Very comprehensive.
It's very comprehensive and it's a wonderful job. And I must commend them, and I must also say that you actually did our work for us, I mean NAPC, because that is basically why we were set up. Now, having said that, the single window project, now, I must confess that we've not done well as a country, because we've been operating, like he said, in a silos, everybody on his own, and God for us all. And the Nigerian Customs Service, they've set up their own single window. The FMIT, that's Federal Ministry of Industry, Trade and Investment. And I can tell you that last year on 29 January 2020, NAPC launched a national single window for export. National single window for export. But when COVID came, it disrupted that. But you see, a single window cannot, no one organization can set up a single window. That's a fact. It transcends all other organizations. And the committee has no work. I say that because I'm aware that a committee was set up and the vice president is the chair. I'm aware of that. Is the chair of that committee. So if I want to advise, if we want to move this forward, there's no rocket science about it. We can make it. If we want to move this forward, we should look at single window as a life, and trade is a life and dead, a life and dead matter. We should look at single window and trade generally as a life and dead matter. And we should treat it like COVID-19. In other words, what I'm trying to say is that if we can set up a presidential task force on COVID-19, we should set up a presidential task force on single window project with clear timelines. The president should say, come, I need to do this in so time. And that task force should transcend all other stakeholders. That's the custom, Nigerian Supervision Council, the CBN. Who heads the task force doesn't really matter. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir. Dr. Yama, do you want to weigh in on this? Dr. Yama? Okay. All right. David Amachuni, please. Please weigh in on this single window issue.
Okay.
Go ahead, David.
Hello, can you hear me? Yes.
Yes, please.
Yes. The single window issue, I think from the trade perspective, it is something that is critical to facilitating trade, like under the AFCFTA. For example, the AFCFTA agreement requires that state parties should establish single window facilitated by information technology to enable traders to submit and process import, export, and transit documentations. The issues raised by the previous speaker, they seem valid, but the thing is, coordination is also key, as stated. So when all these are resolved, it will actually facilitate trade even beyond the AFCFTA. So that's basically what I have to add on that.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you, sir. All right, let's move quickly to another part of the study, which is about formalization and integration. The reports from the Bureau of Statistics over the years shows us that the number of micro, small, and medium enterprises, especially the micro, is almost 40 million enterprises, but there is this lack of coordination because, of course, they're mostly informal. How best can government create awareness among the target groups in a way to achieve the objectives? And flowing from the South Africa development community and the examples we're taking from them, how can we begin to adapt this in the ECOWAS region and in Nigeria? Honorable Ahmed Rabiu, please, do you want to chip in here? How can we work with the informal sector so that they are formalized in some way?
Okay, thank you so very much. First, I've tried to start my video, but it's been stopped by the convener. So you need to allow the video from our end. That's starting the video.
Host, please enable video.
Okay.
Please go ahead, sir.
Okay, thank you so very much. Most of the efforts that have been made, especially in the last over 10 years, our development partners, if you like, the USAID, DFID, GIZ, and the rest of them made efforts to support through improving ease of doing business, to modernize and formalize. And we have most of the times informed through our honest recommendation that rather than attempt to without the challenge of being captured for tax purposes, because most of the fears, am I being heard?
Yes, sir, we hear you, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm being heard.
Yes,
am I being heard?
Go ahead.
Go
ahead, sir, we hear you.
Most of the challenges that make most of the very macro, the very small business operators to run away from being captured and formalized is first, formalization has a cost. There is a cost for formalization, and there is the fear that upon formalization, one will be found to have been properly entrenched into the tax net. I will be called to be paying this and that and other taxes. So those fears make people not to cooperate from their own end. But modernization ordinarily, like the effort that has been made to ensure everybody is captured in the banking system, that's a very good thing. And it is made, the banks are made to reach out to ensure that they provide the facilitation for everybody to be able to access banking services. Those efforts can succeed. But formalizing means getting properly in the record, but modernizing, getting the micro operators to come into the settings by making sure the facilities exist wherever they are needed in our remote areas so that there is an internet access besides the issue of the banking access. And by the time all these things happen, then we'll find that we're able to bring everything in, and we could be able to also capture the level, the segment of them that we need to capture for tax and other matters, and planning also vehicles. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, sir. Inclusion, definitely, financial inclusion. But I want to ask again, Honorable Rabi, just before you go away, how has it worked till date? What has worked till date? And I ask you this because of your constituency. What has worked till date, and what do you think that we can make better? Because you mentioned the banks, and we know that a number of these micro organizations, they're in places where the banks don't have so much of a strong presence. So what has worked? Is the agency banking model working right now, or what can be done better?
Very well. Very well. Most of the things are improving. What has happened in the at the beginning was that the banks were trying to deploy their services full blown to all communities, and it was so costly. And by virtue of what they earn from those segment of the customers, they found that it was just doing just throwing quality funds away. So they introduced the agency banking, and there are some other initiatives that are coming through that are really working. And so I believe the agency banking particularly is working, and there are banks without promoting them, and with fear of promoting them, I'll not mention the name, but we know there are those banks who go into remote areas and we find people that show the POS and where people are able to get in and also get money, deposit money and collect cash. So the work that needs to be done more on the government side is the regulation by the central bank. The bank used to control when they ask for permission to open an urban branch. They are also required to give a number of rural branches to back it. So the report, like the issue of the ATM banks, ATM, the ATM, the one that is for depositing money and the one that is also for withdrawal. Those ones, most of the banks have not invested in those. And also when you go to most of the ATM machines, you see for those of us who are in Europe some 20 years ago, we have seen that it's the scrap of those ones used in Europe that most of the banks have brought in and we are using now. And we need to modernize. We see that ATM that we see abroad, in Europe particularly, we are paying today. We should have what is more efficient and effective. The central bank should be bothered, and the monitoring system should be improved. Where you go to so many places, you see even ATM galleries where there are 6 to 12 ATM machines, but you go and all of them do not have cash, and you wait there forever. You do not get cash. And there are the issues of you put your ATM in a bank, and if it does, the ATM is not from its own facility, is not its own, it will reject it. You will try many times, and then you also withdraw only at maximum of 10,000 naira in most of the machines at a time. And that is a lot of great disincentive to business. If they have to charge 65 naira for every 10,000, they could also charge whatever 65 times 5 or whatever, and allow a person doing business to be able to do that business. So a lot of this.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Dr. Yama, can we get a fact-and perspective on this? Hello, Dr. Yama.
Hello?
Dr. Yama,
yeah, I'm hearing you.
Thank you, sir.
Basade, go ahead.
Dr. Yama, can we get a fact-and perspective on this? Is Dr. Yama with us, Titi? Titi?
He's in the room. Dr. Yama is right on the screen. Dr. Yama.
Dr. Yama, please respond to my last question about formalization and how we can see integration working between the smaller micro organizations and the larger ones to ensure that there is a smoother working.
Well, we've tried on our own to integrate the smaller ones to the medium ones and to the bigger ones. it is quite working, but I must say one thing.
Okay,
All
Doctor.
over the world, there will always be smaller ones. All the smaller ones to the larger ones. Some people start small, grow large. We can always integrate them, but we should not allow ones. Always, because most times we don't. Hello?
Sir, we hear you, but your network seems to be particularly poor.
Yes, the network is very poor.
Yes. Okay, can I take this question to Ernst & Young, and then we'll come back to you, sir. Maybe give your network some time. Orolua, can I bring you into this conversation? Integration. How do you see it working better? We've heard perspective from the private sector people. How do you think that public sector actors can help this to work even better?
Thank you, Abosede. And this is, the recommendation was largely driven by the public sector stakeholders that we consulted with, particularly the NABG, which is the Nigerian Agribusiness Group, which has the likes of Dangote, Olam, and Wakot. And from my understanding, is a system that they are currently in discussion with CBN with, to say, we have identified from a private sector angle, we've identified these smaller guys, and we are willing to work with them in terms of build out their quality requirements and other technical tools that they need. But you as the government needs to facilitate that linkage in terms of bearing some of our finance and bearing some of our costing in terms of providing subsidized finance to us to provide to these guys as well, because what they will be, what they will,
please, host, please can we have everyone else muted except Orolua? Host, please mute everyone else except Orolua. Orolua, please go ahead.
Okay, so like I was saying, so what they have said is to cover their own costs in terms of finance costs, they would need a much cheaper loan, single-digit loans to provide the technical input that these smaller guys will need to improve their yield. And these are systems that we are currently seeing operating. We've seen it in rice, we are seeing it currently in tomato. I believe the second tomato yield, according to NABG, is supposed to come out this year. And we see that it's a system that is working, and we can replicate it for other value chains. But like Dr. Yama said, it's true that there will always be the smaller guys, and we have to also factor in the fact that these smaller guys are not going to go anywhere, even with integration. What we've recommended is also for government to look at some sort of delayed gratification in terms of taxing, where you, instead of looking to tax the smaller guy that just registers now and chasing him up for tax, you look to ensure that they are upskilled first. There's no point getting 20 naira from someone that makes revenue of 2,000 when you can allow him use that 20 naira to build to another 100,000 in 2 years, and then you get 1,000. Versus overtaxing is 2,000 now and he dies off after 2 years. So some sort of delayed gratification in terms of building the smaller guys is also very key.
Thank you, Orolua. You mentioned something that is really important, and I haven't seen a lot of representation from FIRS in this discourse. Is there plans to bring them on board? Because like you rightly mentioned, they're a key actor in this place. If we keep talking about trying to bring people into the formalization or at least semi-formalization process, there is that fear that we cannot negate about people not wanting to come into the tax net. So the FIRS needs to help us see how this can work. So what are the plans to bring those process owners into this mix?
So yes, we currently see some improvement in FIRS consideration for the smaller guys. The recent Finance Act is one that goes into that to say producers that have below 25 million are not are income tax exempt. Yeah, that's some level of initial consideration for the MSMEs, but it goes beyond just your income tax, because as a producer, even though you're saying I am exempt from income tax, I still have the VAT that I have to remit monthly. I still have the VAT filing. I still have my zero income tax that I have to file monthly, otherwise you penalize me. And those are some of the negatives for someone, that the cost benefit analysis that an informal person does and says, no, I would prefer to remain informal rather than expose myself to all this taxation. Because again, you face the additional cost of doing business in terms of the road and network. So you also want to do some form of saving in terms of taxing, basically.
Thank you, Arelua. There was something else you mentioned about training. There's a training calendar, SMIDA, FMITI, harmonizing these training calendars to ensure that there is knowledge that is being done and riding on the coattails of one another so that it's not disjointed. Is there this calendar that exists in a way that is shared among all actors, and who ensures that this calendar is followed? I'll be taking this question to Dr. Ezra. Dr. Ezra, please. Dr. Ezra?
I was actually trying to comment on the informal sector.
Okay, please go ahead, sir.
Thank you. Now, the chief executive of Nigerian Export Promotion Council, that's my boss, Mr. Segun Awolowo, whom you all know. He has been here for quite a while, and one of the things that is dear to his heart is this informal sector. And so I can say that he brought up a program on the informal sector, and the idea is to capture them. The idea is to accommodate them. And the program is called Domestic Export Warehousing Scheme. And the essence of that program is to establish 2 export warehouses and aggregation centers in each of the 6 geopolitical zones. And we want to ensure that warehouse is like a warehouse where goods, normally most of these informal sectors, they use the borders to export, because you are dealing with informal sector generally, but I am looking at it from the export, non-oil export perspective. So they use these borders to export. And so we'll be able to identify some of them because we go there, our officers go there for sensitization programs. And so we've identified some of the things that's impeding or that's hindering their exports. So these warehouses, once they're established, we'll ask them to come and keep their goods as a form of a storage facility, free of charge. By the time we do that, we'll now talk to them, because you can't keep your goods there, for God's sake, without formalizing your exports. Without formalizing your business. That's the idea. By the time you keep your goods there, free of charge, for the number of days you want to do that, we'll now tell you on what exactly to do. And the idea is, at that point, we'll ensure standardization of products, and we'll also ensure quality certification of those products, and to a large extent, appropriate packaging measures for those products. So these are part of things we are doing in NEPC to ensure that we formalize the informal sector. Thank you very much. That's what I wanted to add. Thank you.
Yes. Thank you very much, sir. Just before you go, it is estimated that 65 to 80% of import clearance and export processing time are caused by inefficient or deliberate delays by MDA officials. Who ensures that, again, my question is, who ensures that the calendar of training is followed? And does it exist in a manner that brings together all the good work that everybody in the private and public sector is doing to ensure that everybody who is in the export value chain understands what needs to happen at each point in time? Just today, somebody who should know on Twitter was lamenting about how long it takes to get goods to pass through. How do we ensure that the people who are in these different points, even before we get to this single window, are able to communicate how things happen? Sir, do you want to weigh in on this?
Okay, I think basically is about capacity training or capacity training of all agencies. And honestly, I must say that over time we've had cases of people compromising on their jobs. But you see, if I compromise on my job, if I'm fired today, the other person will not compromise on his job or delay his job. So we need the political will. We need the political will to ensure that this is done. There's regulatory agencies, they are being manned by chief executives. And where an officer is found wanting, why an officer is an impediment to trade, because this trade is not about a state, it's about Nigeria, it's about a country, and it affects us as a nation. So where an officer is impeding because of maybe corrupt tendencies on trade, fire that officer, fire him. But honestly, I feel there is need for capacity building of all trade-related or trade-related organizations. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Dr. Abdulateef Shittu, sir. Dr. Ezra mentioned now that let's fire them if they're not working, but we also know that sometimes it's not the lack of will to do the job, it's lack of capacity. How do you think that this can be helped to reduce the inefficiencies that are caused from a lack of capacity?
Yes, thank you. And again, I'd like to commend PDF for this brilliant initiative and then providing this platform for this conversation. Let me go back a bit on the issue of the single window.
Okay.
And, an initiative introduced in the country. They are novel, they are beautiful things, but they require, just like you said, a lot of coordination and collaboration amongst the key strategic actors to be able to, achieve, bring, sort of implement it properly. So you need, a good implementation plan that would help to, and then create, and then the communication. A number of times you have, programs and initiatives out there, but people are not aware of it. So you need to really, carry the message and the gospel to the people. Let them know that this is what these are the benefits, these are the advantages, and communicating effectively is also very key. So I haven't said that. The issue of the informal sector, 65% of the, if the statistics is correct, and we saw that at the subnational level when we did a lot of on the IGR reforms of states, and how could states, improve the IGR and then stop the reliance on federal, allocation, the so-called FAC allocation, able to pay their current, meet their current obligations. And so we did, brought all the key stakeholders to Abuja, and then it was World Bank sponsored program. And we found that, about 70 to 75 to 80%, it depends in structure and in the economic of the state from each other. So we found that about 70 to 80% in some states are the informal sector that drives everything. They're just rural states. They're, as we call it. But after we did this study, and then did the, and then we, informed the states and asked the state to embark on this reform, both the policy reform. Today, a number of the states have really, increased and grown their IGR, but we've seen states that they're doing like about 130% from where, from 2016 to today, they have grown the IGR to about 130%. And what is the secret? Because again, it's informal sector. So then I said, look, listen, how do we approach them? How do we get them into the tax net? How do we get them back into the economy? Because they are there doing business. Even though, albeit, on a small scale. So what the state, ask the state to do is to track the cooperatives, because every one of them belong to one cooperative or association or the other. So what we did was to track them. And then we also introduced what is called tax for service element. Your kids can't get this free education, but at the primary and the secondary level, or you can access the primary healthcare freely. So you need to go and and then document and pick up and then tell the state what you intend to pay in terms of tax. So you define what you want to give the government in terms of. So they use that to be able to attract them and bring them into a tax net. And when we did that, a number of the, I reached out to them and they asked them to go to the bank and do all of this and fill the forms and all that. Today, they have widened the tax net, and a number of them are paying. And that's what they do. After the first year, then they come and review because you have the data. Yeah, because quite a number of the problem is lack of data. So you don't have the data to now say, okay, right now I have like 50,000 SMEs in my state, or 10,000 SMEs in my state. And then now, and I know they said, look, they're going to pay 3,000-4,000 a year. Now you can go and review the business they do, and then come back and then increase the tax to comply. So we need to then find a way. And I'm surprised. I don't know whether Smedan is on this call. And then NASI, Smedan is the organization that handles the SMEs. And then we have NASI, which is the Association of the Small Scale Industries. I think we also need to hear from them and see what they're doing, to really, improve the SME businesses in the country. Because in most countries, the SME, is the engine that drives the economy for most clients. And so Nigeria should not be an exception. We can encourage, and then to the point of the Port Authority, I think everything is all about training. I think we need to build capacity. A number of officials who are occupying some of these roles are not fit for purpose, and that's the truth. So we need to constantly train them and back on training, and then so that there can also be some rules and obligations that would be tied to all of these things. So that at the end of the day, because I believe that when you train people and they know the benefits of this to the economy, and they know how central their role is, I'm sure they would, because we saw that also when we were doing the IGR system. We had to, reform the institutions in the state. We used to have the Inland Revenue, which is attached to the Minister of Finance. Now we've taken all of that out of the Minister of Finance, and we have an independent state Inland Revenue, which reports directly to the governor's office, and is populated by professionals who knows what they're doing. I mean, these are people who are chartered tax, unlike before, which was just, the thing was just run by civil servants. Okay. And just did not know what to do. And then we also introduce technology to be able to
Dr. Shitu, thank you very much.
Leakages, and then to be able to ensure that, you know, we have, yeah.
Sir, my next question to you was going to be, how do we, give us a tangible example of how you have done it, which you have then mentioned now. But how do we coordinate it? Because you've mentioned some very interesting things. How do the other organizations who are part of this ecosystem learn from what you have done? And how do you also learn from them? How do we coordinate it better so that those trainings actually hit the mark and deliver value for the country?
Yeah, I think the way to go about it is what we're doing now. We need to collaborate more. We need to synergize more. And then we also need to, you know, have workshops where we can share ideas. And then, for example, the federal government under its economic sustainability plan is trying to release about 900 billion naira on a creek, you know, to be able to, you know, looking at that sector. That's in the, it's in the plan, it's in the works. I mean, so how do we, it becomes effective, and then we realize tremendous value from this initiative.
Thank you very much, sir.
So, and a number of initiatives like that. I mean, the CBN has quite a number of million, you know, so we need to, you know, get to, you know, have workshops and training sessions so that people can come in. And this, it should be, you know, we roll it out constantly so that people, you know, are aware, and then most of them are just there, they don't know it exists. So we have to bring it to create a lot of awareness, you know, intense and robust discussions on these things.
Thank you, sir.
And then,
thank you very much, sir.
And then set out the work plan and this objective. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Quickly, I'll be going back to Dr. Ezra. We have about 2 minutes more for this session. A major recommendation was under the export market information, where NEPC was recommended to do 3 key things, and I'll read them out: to leverage the use of ICT channels, direct dissemination of procurement opportunities, and improve collaboration with SMEDA. Dr. Ezra, how is the NEPC going to ensure that these 3 but very key recommendations are taken forward by the NEPC effectively?
Okay, thank you very much. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay, thank you very much. The first thing I need to say is that the NEPC is always a willing partner with other stakeholders if it has to do with non-oil export. And so SMEDAN, we've been working with SMEDAN on so many, especially as regards to SMEs, we've been working with SMEDAN. And of course, we won't have problem working with SMEDAN. But right now, as I'm talking to you, yesterday and today, we're having a seminar at Bristol Hotel. That's Kano, on e-commerce, and that's ICT-related issues in terms of market access to it, international market. Right now, as I'm talking to you, yesterday and today, the seminar is going on right now at Bristol Hotel. So what I'm trying to say is that NEPC has already taken the lead. We've identified those issues. That's the truth about it. We've identified those issues and we've taken up the lead in those areas. Now, one other thing I wanted to say is on the issue, if you don't mind, is on the issue of collaboration with other agencies. My boss, Mr. Awolo, also I'll say again, is that in coping that challenge, what he did was he approached government and they approved, and they set up for the first time a national committee on export promotion. It has never been done, a national committee on export promotion. And the committee, apart from ensuring that the zero oil plan it comes to friction, the committee is also to ensure that all these challenges, all these loopholes, all these silos arrangement where everyone is on his own, that gap is breached. And like I said, for the first time, the committee involves NEBZA, that's Nigeria Export Processing Zones, of course, the NEPC, the Federal Ministry of Industry, Trade and Investment, and the Nigerian Export-Import Bank, CBN, NISAL, Nigeria Sovereign Wealth Fund, and many other stakeholders. Let me say it clear. The idea is, let's bridge this gap. Non-oil export is not about NEPC alone. Non-oil export trade is not about NEPC alone. It's not about NEBZA or NEXIM or no, it is for Nigeria, it is for our own good, it's for our own nation. So we have to come together and do this together. Thank you very much.
Okay, Dr. Ezra, before you go, this very commendable what the NEPC has done with the committee, but we all know that all the stakeholders that have been mentioned in this study are there's no one who is a stranger to the other. So what has not worked in the past and what's going to be put in place to ensure that this committee is not just another committee? What's going to be unique about this committee? What's going to make it work?
Yeah, one of the things that's got to make it work is the people involved, the personality involved. State governors are members of this committee. The membership of this committee is my boss. He's a member of the committee. He didn't send any staff, and most of them are DGs of these organizations. It's not as if a committee will be set up. They will send a staff of level 15 or 16 that cannot take a decision. So all these committee members, governors are involved in these committee members, and DGs are involved. If it doesn't work, for God's sake, what do you think will work? It has to work. Thank you very much. Well,
you're on mute, Abosede.
Apologies, please. 1 minute for all my panelists to give us a passing shot before we go into the Q&A session. I'll start from Dr. Iyama, who unfortunately we haven't heard from today. Dr. Iyama, can we have you speak now, sir? Dr. Iyama? Dr. Iyama? Okay, I think the internet issues have persisted. David Amachunde, please, your final remark, please. David?
Yes,
David?
hello.
Okay, please go ahead. Please go ahead.
Okay, yes. So on the non-oil export plan by NEPC, the zero oil plan.
Yes.
As Mr. Ezra has rightly said, the committee consists of various agencies. And I believe such collaboration across various agencies and involvement of the state governors will further the objectives. It is recalled that the zero oil plan, for example, plans to add additional 5,000 jobs and an additional $150 billion in investment and all that. So this collaboration is key, and that is what I believe will drive these objectives. And on the issue of MSME, it is recalled that recently there were some public engagements by SMIDAN and some agencies on reviewing the national MSME policy, and representatives from FIRS and other agencies were there. They made their views, and some of the inputs were even already being implemented, like the tax processes by FIRS. And also the issue of formalization of MSMEs. I believe the sensitization is key to make them realize that being incorporated into a legal framework is not strictly for tax purposes, but also for planning. And also there are some incentives that are available for them upon coming on board. This should also motivate them to go through all those processes to actually formalize, because data is key in trade, and it is like the defining
Thank you, David. Thank you, David. Thank you. We will go into Q&A and you have the opportunity to expand on some of these things. Please, we need to wrap up this particular session. Thank you very much, David. Honorable Rabiu, please. 1 minute. Honorable Rabiu, please give us your parting shot. 1 minute, sir. Honorable Rabiu. Okay. Dr. Abdulateef Shitu, please. 1 minute, wrap up.
Yeah, again, thank you. Just to again bring to light that how critical and central security is also, because without peace, I mean, very little can be achieved. So security is very central, and I think that we also need to look at that element, factor that element in all the planning that we do. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Dr. Ezra, sir.
Okay, can you hear me, please?
Yes, please, go ahead.
Okay, my parting shot is that, having read the report, by the way, I have 1 or 2 observations in the report. Maybe I can make it offline, maybe.
As we go into the Q&A, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, my parting shot is that, having read the report, I think as a nation, we need to adopt the COMESA version of the simplified trade regime. That regime allows the continuance of informal trade within a threshold of $1,000 on a duty-free basis and without any registration document. See, that serves as an incentive to such informal trades and also provide avenue for data capture and, of course, eventual formalization of their trade once they exceed the 1,000 threshold. I think we should do that. I mean, it should not be enforcement of law. Sometimes you woo the person to come to you. You don't just enforce law. They must pay tax. They must do this. They must do. No, you woo the person and ask the person. Let him see the other side of it, and as if it's free. But you know your target. You know what you are doing. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Dr. Iyama. Dr. Iyama, are you with us? Okay. Honorable Ahmed Rabi. All right, I'll be wrapping up this session now so that we can go quickly into the Q&A. A lot of interesting questions have come up, and I think that we need to try as much as possible to pay attention to these questions because they have come up from the deliberations this afternoon and from the report. So I want to say a very big thank you to the panelists. Thank you for your time and thank you for your very important input at this part of the session. Thank you very much. Quickly, we'll be going into the Q&A box. I will try to summarize. We have about 16 questions to go through. I will try to summarize. So please, apologies if I don't read out everything you have written. I will try to bring out the key points. And if you have not directed it to a particular person on the panel, I will try to assign it and see how we can make the most of the time that we have. Thank you. So Fatima Mohammed Umar says that on paper, everything has been set up for a vibrant non-oil export sector. However, in reality, as the study portrays, the potential for the sector is yet to be tapped. My question is, will there be enough political will to execute recommendations like the single window processing and significant reduction in multi-tariffs on exports? I think I'll take this to NEPC. Dr. Ezra, you again, sir.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you very much. Okay, I hope you can hear me, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you very much. Fatima, of course, there's going to be political will. And, you know, some of these things, it comes to national pride. National pride. It comes to national pride. If I stand to be corrected, I stand to be corrected. But I think Nigeria is the only country that doesn't have a single window. I stand to, in Africa, you know, I stand to be corrected. Or rather, let me rephrase to say, most countries in Africa do have a single window. Now, if that is the situation, for God's sake, what is single window? Is it something from heaven? and we can't take it from heaven, what exactly is single window? If we pride ourselves as the giant of Africa, we pride ourselves as the biggest country, biggest black country in Africa, what exactly is that single window that we can't do it? So I think with this realization, with what is happening now, I'm very sure the political will come. And this thing is being recorded. We don't know whether even the president is listening to us. And you see, some of these things, the idea of single window and most of these concepts, it's not as if government doesn't want to do it. Sometimes there's no awareness. That's just the truth. They don't know the benefits of it. But now that we are talking, I'm very sure we'll reach somewhere. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Dr. Shitu, do you want to please come in here on political will? I think that you're very well positioned to answer on political will. Do you think we have the political will? Dr. Shitu. Okay, let's move on.
I think he's speaking.
Okay,
I think Dr. Latif was, yeah, he was on mute.
Hello.
Sir, please go ahead. Please chip in on political will. Political will, sir.
Yeah. Okay. I think you know at the base of every initiative is the will, is the political will. That drives the initiative. So I think there's political will. I believe so. Are well positioned to ensure that the initiative is implemented properly. Some people misconstrue political will sometimes to deficiencies in the implementation plan. So sometimes there's confusion. So is the implementation, if the implementation plan is well structured, then political will will just flow with it.
Thank you, sir.
So I think political will is given. I think it's given. Yes.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Danla Dikaje asks that government should pay attention to the following areas in the ginger value chain. We expect specific financial intervention programs on ginger as had been done in rice and cassava, information on modern farming techniques, new research on new seed rhizomes, and export of the product is 100% raw, processed by products from the, Government should intervene and encourage this. David, do you want to weigh in on this? Intervention in the ginger value chain to support exports, improved exports. David, are you with us?
Hello, yes, ma'am, I'm here.
Yes, please. So, did you get the question?
Can you just come again? My network was a bit...
Okay, the summary of the question is improved government intervention in the ginger value chain, as has been done in rice and cassava, improved information on modern farming techniques in the ginger value chain, and access to new research. And I'm not quite sure of the last one, which is the export is virtually 100% raw. I'm not sure if this person wants us to encourage it, but let's answer the first three questions, which is improved intervention in the ginger value chain.
Okay, I think...
David?
Hello?
Please go ahead.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Hello?
We can hear you.
Okay. Hello?
Okay, Orolua, do you want to weigh in on this question a little?
That's fine. So yes, like the person mentioned, we've seen some intervention across other value chains that can be replicated in the ginger value chain. what we've seen, one of the reasons why we chose ginger was because we did note that that's one of the value chains that had the presence of a lot of micro guys. So yes, it's part of our recommendation around the investment enabling to ensure that some of this finance initiatives that have been replicated for rice and cassava are also done for priority products that we've selected in the report. In terms of, if I can just go through the question again, just to be sure that I'm not missing out any part of it. Okay, in terms of the export of 100% virtually raw, yes, that's one of the also one of the issues that we've noted in the report, to say our technical capacity along some of these products is pretty low. So our value addition to some of our products is low at this time. And the answer to that we can in building value addition is there's investment required. And the way we've structured our investment drive to these sectors is also using the outgrower schemes to say, if the bigger guys who are using ginger, and I know Wakot is doing something, I believe it's Wakot that is doing something on ginger in the north, to say if the bigger guys start to play with, start to work hand in hand with the smaller guys in this regard, we'll begin to see some value addition and some product generation from some of these products.
Okay, thank you.
Can I say something, please? Would you mind, please?
Yes, please. Yes, please.
Okay, just intervention in the ginger value chain. I want to say authoritatively that the NEPC is collaborating with CBI on intervention on ginger value chain. And as I'm talking to you on 23rd, that's next week, 23rd February next week, we're inviting the stakeholders on ginger. We've sent invitations already. Stakeholders on ginger to come for a seminar. This seminar is sponsored by NEPC and CBI in our conference hall here at the headquarters in Abuja. And the idea is for us to intervene in that area. Some of the issues he raised, honestly, they are germane, but that's why we're collaborating with CBI to see how we can intervene area and see how stakeholders can add value in the ginger value chain. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. The next question is, how do we get the link to the report? I've just pasted the link here. Okay, so Ilaria Chesa, forgive me if I've not pronounced that properly. Ilaria Chesa asks, and this is directed to Orelua Porter, which 1 to 2 value chains out of the 6 shortlisted in the report would score the highest from an environmental sustainability and ecological footprint perspective? Orelua, please.
Okay, thank you, Ilaria. In terms of the consideration that we're giving to the report for environment, while we note that some of these products, producers currently in Nigeria still use the primary method of, and there's limited technology in terms of greenhousing and other environmental sustainable mechanisms for production. We have thereby limited the level of consideration that we've given to environmental sustainability. We do not particularly think any of the products are particularly harmful to the environment. And but if I was to comment on which one to, I would say cocoa and soya bean would score the highest.
All right. Okay, thank you. Ilaria's next question, I believe, has been answered, and I'll just paraphrase her question, where she says that which agency in the federal government is in the lead of the single window implementation, and how far has it gone? I believe that Dr. Ezra's last input during the panel session talked about the committee that NEPC is leading with input from other agencies will lead on this. And we can Ilaria, if you can hear me, we can take this forward in terms of being able to do a back and forth with some of the panelists. I've asked that the panelists should please add their contact addresses to the chat box so people can reach out to them post this session. Thank you. We'll go to the next question now. Okay. Praise Aze asks about the strategy recommendations. While these are clearly stated out, a very important aspect has been left out. I refer to the media. Okay, my team and I have developed and engaged media campaign strategies that organizations have used in achieving their objectives. These can be employed. To the question, I would like to know how you plan to leverage the media in achieving these recommendations, as the media is a great factor in achieving the success. Let's see.
If I can take that.
Yes, please.
Okay. So what we've noted that is currently being done that we're recommending is the use of organized private sector and cooperative groups. And this is something that I believe the NEPC does a lot, and credit to the NEPC for that, to say when they have initiatives, they carry along organized private sector groups like NASIMA, like the NABG, like the MAN, who have a faster, they have these people on smaller WhatsApp channels and WhatsApp groups that is easy to disseminate. I also know that OWIT, that's the Organization of Women in Trade, they're very connected on ICT tools to say, if you use this smaller, this organized private sector guys to disseminate some of your information, it moves faster than if government releases circular that's going from one MDA to another MDA. And this is similar to what we see currently in the truck call-up system, which is supposed to start next week. As a trade participant, I only found out about the mandation of the automated truck call-up system early last month. That's about a month window for me. But that's because I just stumbled upon it on Twitter. What I would expect is that MPA should have given a maybe more than a month period for awareness to go around, and also use this organized private sector groups to just let people know, the key stakeholders should know that, yes, we'll be implementing a neutral color system starting from this date. And that way information moves faster. And we don't have, it's something that we see in Nigeria, the level of, we have good policies that are then scuppered at implementation phase because information dissemination was not properly done. And that's what we're seeing with the NIN, that we keep moving and moving. It's just because information is not being circulated through other channels. It just goes from one MDA to another MDA, and that's really slow in terms of getting to the end users.
Thank you, Aralua. Okay, our next question. Our next question is from Abe Ikechukwu Ogeoyin, and he's talking, his question is around what is being done to support startups. What is being done to support startups? The grassroots need training for inclusion on standard production, doing virtually nothing in that aspect, yet they are asked to pay tax. I believe that from the submissions of Dr. Shitu and Dr. Ezra, this has been answered to some extent. Do any of our panelists want to weigh in here? Or do we believe that this has been answered previously? Should we move on to another question? Or is any panelist, what exactly is being done for grassroots organizations? In this case, the micro organizations that we mentioned earlier.
Hello. I think I answered that question, but then
yes, sir.
One of the things we do also in NEPCs for startup is we have a program called the Export Clinic. We call it Export Clinic, where we invite startups for training, and it's free of charge, and we invite people to come, experts in this sector, to come and deliver messages. Now, practical message, not theory, on how to export, what you need to do to export. We do that and it's free of charge. I mean, that's what our mandate allows us to do. And so we do that in a little way. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Okay, the next question is, okay, the next question is from Chidume Okoro. Number one, why is the CBN not allowing exporters to trade their export proceeds freely rather than regulate their proceeds, thereby stifling exports? The second question is, why is the CBN putting further bottlenecks in exports by insisting to clear loading lists of shipping lines even after the shipments have been cleared by customs? These are really germane questions. Unfortunately, we don't have the CBN in the room, but I think NEPC can come in here. And then David also, please. NEPC, Dr. Ezra, please. Why is the CBN not allowing exporters to trade their export proceeds freely rather than regulate their proceeds, thereby stifling exports? The second one is, why is the CBN putting further bottlenecks in exports by insisting to clear loading lists of shipping lines even after the shipments have been cleared by customs? Oh, okay, TT just corrected me that we have CBN in the room.
Okay, yeah.
So, TT, who's gonna answer this from CBN, please?
Okay, so when we started, I saw someone that said, good morning, I'm Dr. Olabinton Adebowale, representing Development Finance Department of CBN. So he introduced himself when we started around 11:35. I'm not sure if he's still in the room. Dr. Olabinton Adebowale. Is he still in the room? Let's check. Dr. Olabinton.
Okay, while we do that, maybe Dr. Ezra can start the conversation and then we'll see if Dr. Olabinton can come in. Dr. Ezra, please.
Okay, thank you very much. What I want to say is that NEPC as an organization, we promote export. We promote non-oil export. And we don't do anything whatsoever to stifle or impede non-oil export. Rather, we provide incentives. So I think, because the gentleman that asked that question used the word stifling export, I think I'll want to allow the CBN, if they're around, to answer that question, because they know, they have a fair idea on why they took the decisions they took. Thank you very much.
All right, sir. Titi, is Dr. Olabinton around?
I can see him in the room. Dr. Olabinton, let me see if we can unmute him. Is it possible? Let's try that. Dr. Olabinton.
Do we take another question and come back to this just while you speak with him?
Yes, please. Yes,
so that we use our time well. Okay. All right. Dr. Ezra, I'm back to you. Simeon John asks, what is NEPC doing to ensure that all major actors, unfortunately, that doesn't end.
Boss, Dr. Olabinton has been put on the panel, so he's on the panel right now. We can,
okay.
We can speak. Yes.
Good afternoon, Dr. Olabinton.
He can unmute himself.
Dr. Olabinton. Okay, while we wait for him, let me take one other question and then he can come in later, just so that we try to answer as many as possible. Elizabeth Nwankwo asks, what are we doing about the gridlock? I believe she's referring to at the ports here. What are we doing about the gridlock? Oreoluwa, do you want to answer this based on the study and the findings?
Okay, so I currently understand that to decongest the ports currently, NEP is commencing the automated truck call-up system from the 27th. That's supposed to be an automated system that allows that regulates the movement of truck in and out of the ports, such that that removes. If it's not yet, if you've not been notified to come to the port, you won't be at the port, and that reduces the level of queues and line up at the port currently. Also, To also aid the congestion, the rail projects are currently underway. One of it is the one that links to Ibadan. It's supposed to link directly from Tinkan to all the way to Ibadan. And there are some inland dry ports that are currently being developed in those regions as well. Just so that goods that are not particularly ready for export or that have just been imported into the country can move and be stored at interlands versus staying at their Papa port. So these are some of the initiatives that NPA is currently looking at to aid the congestion of the port. We hope that implementation would run as smoothly as it is on paper.
Okay, thank you. Dr. Ezra, I'm going to ask you to come in here because I know that you mentioned about being able to warehouse goods for exporters. How does this tie in with what the NPA is doing or planning to do at the ports in terms of coordinating what you are doing as NEPC and NPA?
Okay, thank you very much. Ours is not at the ports. Our own, if you heard me very well, we are targeting the informal sector, SMEs. That was what I said. Ours is target the SMEs. We are not about, in this aspect, we are not about the big exporters. They know what to do. They know how to go about it. But we are trying to make the informal sector formal. That is our, yes. So it has no conflict whatsoever with the NPA.
Yeah. My angle was, you know, when you do the warehousing, is there a, should I call it a release plan that somehow is married to what the NPA is doing, so they're not all going out at the same time? You understand where I think that there might need to be some collaboration between yourselves and NPA, where yes, you have warehoused it, you're working with the smaller organizations, but if everyone is released at the same time to move into the ports, then this gridlock persists. Is there any plan to see if that interaction can be better streamlined?
Okay, thank you very much once again. This is a project that's ongoing. This is a project that has not kicked off. Okay. It has not kicked off. It's ongoing. And it was, and so going forward, just like any other project, you kickstart the project, you see the challenges, you curb the challenges. So these are some of the things we are going to look out to. Not only APA, if there are other organizations that we're going to partner with, we don't have a problem with that. We'll partner with them as long as we make the project smooth, as long as it's seamless. We don't have a problem with that.
Okay, thank you very much, sir.
Thank you.
Okay, our next question is again to Dr. Yakusak. An anonymous attendee is asking, Dr. Yakusak, I presume the products you're speaking to are export items. How does it connect with the Nexport Trade Initiative?
Okay, the products I'm talking about, let me make it clear. They are purely export items. They are meant for exports. They are meant for exports. So that's clear. That's clear enough. And of course, but in terms of Nexport Trade was it's a PPP arrangement between NEPC and Man Export Group. The company was registered in 2005 or 2006 called Nexport Trade Limited. And the idea behind that company is to set up warehousing schemes, now not in Nigeria, but abroad, because we realize that to encourage our exporters, I mean, especially the West African market, they don't even know how to assess those markets. So we brought up this idea of Nexport Trade along with Man Export Group to build warehouses, for example, in Liberia, where Nigerian goods will go there and be warehoused for a meantime, and Liberian citizens or Liberian businessmen will come, look at the goods, buy them off from there. That's the idea behind Nexport Trade, and it's still ongoing right now. So I'm talking to you. It's a collaboration, a PPP collaboration between NEPC and Man Export Group. So there's no conflict. There's no conflict between Nexport Trade and this warehousing scheme I'm talking about. This one is the most domestic warehousing, while Nexport Trade is foreign, targeted at mostly African countries. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, sir. All right, Dr. Abimbola Adegboye asks, was contact made with FMITI to participate or the report forwarded to the ministry? It seems a fresh effort is on course by the ministry to start a single window trade portal. If they are available, they can throw more light on this, please. Titi, do you want to come in here?
All right, thank you. Yes, PDF is in contact with FMITI. They were invited for this meeting, but I'm not very sure who is representing FMITI, and I'm not sure if they're in the meeting, but we're in contact with them, and we're also going to send a copy of this study to FMITI. And of course, recently we've had a couple of things on AFCFTA studies with FMITI, so we're actually in touch with them very closely.
Thank you, Titi.
Yes,
thank you, Titi. Okay, we'll be going back to Chidume's question for the CBN. Is Dr. Labimton available to do some justice to this now? Dr. Labimton, please say hello. Titi, what's the status with Dr. Labimton, please?
We've asked him to unmute himself and he has not unmuted. So I'm not sure that is away from his system, but you can write on with the other questions.
I also think just to say, I also think he dropped some comments on the chat box. I don't know if he particularly answered the question, but Mr. Labimpe dropped some. I know one is saying civilians have introduced a number of industry-led schemes to stimulate low-cost and sustainable finance to non-oil subsectors. I don't know if he was trying to address the question or he was just commenting on something else.
Reason why I wanted most of our questions to go to the Q&A. In the chat box, it scrolls very quickly. It's hard to keep tabs on it. Okay, Chidume Okoro, can I ask that we please take this question offline because you have asked very germane questions and it would be good to hear from the CBN and customs how this is going to work out. Thank you very much. I know we haven't answered your question at this point, but please feel free to contact us after this session so that we can see how to take this forward. Okay, Dr. Abimbola Adeboye asks again, on domesticating global GAP, as suggested in the report, can we start by implementation of various codes of practice recommended by Codex Alimentarius Commission, generally across board to raise the level of safety and quality of our agricultural products? This can be implemented by ADPs and extension officers. Then certification can follow and easy to implementation. I think this is more of a suggestion than a question. Thank you very much, sir. Okay, Akile Bolongo. What efforts are we making towards processing to improve the quality of the exports of the produce? Okay, I think this is more what efforts are we making to improve the quality of exports from Nigeria. In addition, how do we further encourage production considering the security challenges the country? Dr. Shitu, please. How do we further encourage production of this produce considering the security challenges the country is facing? Dr. Shitu, please.
Yes, thank you again. All right, the security element is, like I said earlier on, is very critical. And you can see that production has, in all respects, has gone down considerably. In terms of the output has really gone down because a lot of farmers have been driven out of their farms by bandits and other criminal elements. And we're witnessing, and this is the emerging trend. I mean, every day we have stories of farmers being, driven out of them for their running for their lives and safety, and they've abandoned their farmlands, and so this is really going to impact on the production profile. I want to see what the result will be in about the third quarter of this year in terms of production. But having said that, I know government is doing all its capacity. The Governors Forum is meeting. There are all series of meetings with the stakeholders and with the security the chiefs, and then meeting with all the other stakeholders, you know, in various states to ensure that we restore normalcy and ensure that you know, the security agencies live up to their obligations. So you know, a lot is being done in that regard. You know, and I'm sure when that is done, we would hopefully get back to normalcy. We're looking at as soon as possible, second quarter, to start seeing improve. Start seeing improvement in the environment, and then ensuring that there is peace. And there's a program which DFID is also working on peace and inclusive security, which we're looking at how we're building peace commissions and peace agencies in all the states, so that these institutions and agencies would be the center that try to resolve conflict for conflict resolutions, and then for advocacy in terms of resolving crisis. So all of these initiatives and policy reforms being security policy reforms have been undertaken so that we can achieve that. But more than anything is to create awareness, because there's also a lot of disinformation and misinformation out there. The media is not helping matters. The social media is even making a lot of things worse, with a barrage of fake news out there. They just say, look, the security architecture, and then the crime now is being ethnicized, and then there's a lot of profiling that is going on, and all of this we want to check and ensure that security, we should all live together and in harmony, and ensure that we keep all these criminals out of our space. There are issues. It's multi sectorial issues, and with poverty issues, poverty issues. There are economic issues. There are cultural issues, and then there are some other social issues as well. But again, I'm sure government at the federal level, and also the efforts of governors at the state level, and they're looking at all of that, and then ensure that our borders are porous. So we're talking to the Minister of Interior and the immigrations to ensure that whether the government is going to establish a border patrol agency, and then a lot of ideas and initiatives are being discussed at that level to ensure that we get so that peace is restored eventually. And then when that is done, of course, production would improve significantly. So thank you. Hello, Ray.
What is NEPC doing to ensure that all heads of major agencies are always available? I think this has been answered. Let's hope that the committee actually delivers as it has been planned. There's a question here by Edwin Ikoria. Was the time release study focused on export process alone? What is the key result of this? How long does it take from start to finish for exporting at the moment? David, are you able to help with this? How long does it take from start to finish for exporting at the moment? David, are you with us? Okay. Okay, let me move.
I can
Okay,
quickly take
David.
that.
Okay.
Yes.
That's all right, please go ahead.
Yes. Okay. The time release study was commissioned in 2018 per last discussion with customs. It's not publicly available yet. In terms of your question as to the average, the time it takes to export from start to finish, while that varies from country to country in terms of where you're importing or exporting from, what we can comment, what the report does detail is the average cost for documentary compliance and the number of days it takes for you to complete your document. We've also, in other studies, used comparative analysis of cocoa to say, using just cocoa, how long does it take to export cocoa? And I think that's around 22 days from start to finish.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. I believe we've answered your question now. Okay, I'm going to take two more questions. Unfortunately, we can't take all of it. We appreciate all the questions that have come in, but I'm going to have to take just two more so that we can wrap this up in good time. Chimere Ogionu asks, how can NEPC help in regulation pricing? Because this also kills business. I believe they have a system where, as an exporter, you cannot go below an agreed price of any particular commodity. Here, I believe in Ghana, they have a system where, as an exporter, you cannot go below any agreed price. How can NEPC help in regulation pricing? Dr. Ezra, please.
Okay, thank you very much. Unfortunately, we cannot help in regulation prices. Ours is not a regulatory agency. Ours is a promotion agency. And we do everything to ensure that we promote. And in that aspect, what we do is purely advisory. Purely advisory. We advise you on the price, on the market price, international market price for each product. But we may not even have the machinery to ensure that under pricing or under invoicing is regulated. It's a bit difficult thing to do, I must say. Well, that's it. Thank you.
All right, thank you, sir. Can I please remind everyone to please have your videos on, please. Please have your video on so that we can see the faces as we're interacting. Our last question under this Q&A session is, there is no clear trade policy. How can Nigeria effectively compete under the AFCFTA? David, please. David, please.
Hello.
Yes, go ahead. We can hear you.
Okay, yeah. So if I get the question right, the person asking is suggesting there's no clear trade policy in Nigeria. So how can AFCFTA?
Yes.
How can Nigeria compete?
Yes.
You recall that Nigeria has a trade policy as of 2012, I think some years ago. And there have been conversations to review that, to update it in light of the prevailing circumstances. For example, to accommodate issues of the impact of the pandemic as well as other trade-related issues. So I believe that is something that is in the process, is ongoing. And okay. There are also other complementary policies and, let's say, interventions by the government in promoting trade under the AFCFTA. So I recall, for example, Recently, there was the 50 billion naira export expansion facility program being implemented by the Federal Ministry of Industry, Trade and Investments. And the overall objective of it is to have an export-driven economic growth. So this is one of the policies that ties with the AFCFT along with other policies that I'm sure we're all aware. For example, the Nigerian e-customs project for the integrated customs digitalization to aid seamless administration, payment, border management, export and import processing, and all that. So these, along with other policies, are what will aid the implementation of the AFCFT. And mind you, AFCFT trading has already commenced, and Nigeria has ratified. And the objectives are for industrialization to aid the development of regional and continental value chains, to lead to job creation and all that. So as implementation processes, as implementation proceeds, all these policies will be complementary.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. All right, thank you. I know I said I was going to end here, but I think there are two questions that we need to spend a little time on. This participant asks that it seems there's not a lot of support for exporters in the aquaculture value chain. What is NEPC, FDF, NAFDAC doing to support the aquaculture value chain to play better in the export space? And a specific question is there still a ban on exporting aquaculture products to Europe and the US? NEPC, please.
Okay, from my understanding and knowledge, to the best of my knowledge, I'm not aware of any ban on aquaculture. I'm not aware of that. But for various bans, if you Google the Nigerian Custom site, www.nac.gov.ng, that's Nigerian Customs Service, you will see the list of items that are banned there. So I'm not aware of that. So having said that, I will say that we NEPC does not, we encourage the export of any product as long as that product is not within the prohibition list. So maybe whoever asks that question, he can get across to NEPC. We'll be able to assist him. But I'm not aware that there's no product. As long as what we want is foreign exchange. If that product is going to bring foreign exchange, I mean, fine and good. We'll do everything to assist you. I don't know whether you're in Abuja or Lagos. If you're in Abuja, come to our office. But if you're in Lagos, go to any of our offices. We have offices in 6 regional geographical zones. You can go there. I'll have 29 state offices. Just visit and you will have help. You will get help. Thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you, sir. I think that we are good at this point. I want to thank all our panelists. I want to thank all the attendees for your time. I think that we have tried to answer as many questions as possible, very, very germane questions. So very appreciative of the level of interactions today. Thank you very much. At this point, I will be signing out as facilitator. Once again, my name is Abosede Polobameso, and it's been my privilege to facilitate this session today. Thank you to everyone who's contributed. I'll be handing us over to Titi Ojo, who is the lead exporter voice at PDF Break, to help us round this off. Thank you very much, Titi.
Thank you very much, Abosede. You've had a very wonderful session with you. Thank you so much for facilitating the session. I want to especially thank our moderator. Yes, that's what Abosede, Paul Obamecho. I'm sure you've probably seen her do this, because she does it very well. That's one thing I can say about Abosede. And keep up the good work that you do. I want to thank the panelists for today. Dr. Ezra, we thoroughly enjoyed your time with us today. And I think we'll engage some more with you, actually, because many PCs are a major beneficiary, a stakeholder organization that we work with very closely. Dr. Abdulateef, thank you so much from NGF. I also want to mention, Dr. Abdulateef, that we would love to meet with the Governors Forum. So I think we'll have that conversation with you, because this study was specifically even conducted for states. We feel that this will be very relevant to states post-COVID, and we'd like to have that audience with the states. Dr. David Amachu, we want to thank you very much for being on this call with us today, and every other panelist, Alaji Rabiu, thank you so much. Somebody had asked for the link to the study. Put the link in the chat box. So please ensure that you download the study. One thing we'll also encourage is that there's never any time to finish discussing these things. That's the truth. We want us to step down the study at our different levels to states, our associations. I'm sure we have OWIT here, Network of Women in Export of Services. We have NACI and some representation. MAN is here today. Let us step down this study to our different levels and look at it and take out what will be useful for us to run with. That way we would have done justice to this kind of study, really. We can only talk about it here as a dialogue, but really let's take that and let's step it down to our different associations and what we do. We want to thank Dr. Yama of FACAN. I know you were getting on the call because of internet, and I know he has so much to say. Unfortunately, the internet didn't do much justice. Dr. Yama, we really appreciate what you're doing at FACAN. We also think that this particular study will be so useful to FACAN because we looked at a couple of commodities in that study, and those commodity associations are also under your purview. And I think also that I would love to engage with Dr. Yama as well after this time. I want to thank, I think we have representation from the Diaspora Commission, because I got confirmation that they'll be even the Central Bank. We want to say thank you, the Central Bank, for joining in. We want to thank, and every other government organization. NAFDAC was here. Thank you so much for joining us today. Abuja Chamber of Commerce was here as well. We also had Bank of Agriculture. We really appreciate your time with us. On this note, I want to say thank you very much for being part of this. We want to thank most especially Oreoluwa Porter from Ernst & Young. They conducted the study, and I think it was well done. It was well done. So thank you, Ernst & Young, for this job. I know Dr. Ezra would have so much to do with this study, really, because we engage NEPC in the design and even in the, in the entire process. And that was with Mrs. Obidike, who was the Director of Policy at the time. But now that you are now the new Director of Policy, it's time to start engaging with you as well on this study. And I think I'll give you a call after this. Thank you so much. And I want to commend your internet connection. Your internet connectivity was top notch. I was wondering whether you are speaking from Nigeria or somewhere else.
That's what we have in NEPC. That's what we try to do in NEPC.
Wow. I think I need to migrate to NEPC then so I can get to the internet. Your connection was top. It is commendable. So please help me deliver this message to the CEO for giving you this kind of quality internet. I know it might not have been cheap, but it's worth it. Worth it. Yes. So thank you, everyone. We would collate and curate all the questions that we can find in the Q&A box after this meeting. The KM department of PDF Bridge usually does that. If there's any way to send you maybe responses to it, we will do that by email. We'll continue to communicate with you beyond this meeting. On this note, I would say thank you very much. We were live on YouTube, so you could Google this program. You'll find the videos on YouTube. We also have media people present here today. This event will be reported in some newspapers and on, I think, 1 or 2 TV stations. So I might probably contact 2 of our panelists. If you don't mind, you will grant some radio interview. Okay, I hope you don't mind that. 5 minutes, 3 minutes, they'll give you, you put you on a call just to find, just find out how you enjoy the session, what you think about this conversation today. So I really would appreciate your obligations to this. So thank you very much, everybody. David Amachundi of NOTN, thank you, because you could at least talk to us about AFCFTA. Please, I want us to continue to drive this conversation. The study is available. Let these conversations continue in our different departments, in our different associations, in our states, at the federal government level. It's all to ensure that Nigeria thrives in its non-oil export sector. It's very, very important that we thrive. Our non-export sector needs to thrive. And the onus is on every one of us present here today. All right, on this one, I'll say thank you very much. I'll say thank you on behalf of our program manager as well, Dr. Titilola Akinede. She had to leave during the meeting, and everyone that is present here from PDF Bridge. Thank you very much. And have a beautiful day. Have a very beautiful day. Thank you very much. Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.